That's the biggest line I've ever heard.
And we're ready to get started? All right. Good evening, everyone. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and if everyone would please remain standing after the pledge. And Carly, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may have noticed that our flags are lowered to half-mast, and I just wanted to acknowledge that we are honoring the members of the 25th Regiment, 4th Marine Division, Marine Corps Reserves, for Nassau County resident Corporal Robert Hendricks, and also a South Bronx FDNY Staff Sergeant Christopher Slepman, and then a Pennsylvania resident Sergeant Marine from the Marines, Benjamin Hines. If we could have a moment of silence for their service, in appreciation for their service and those of all of those who serve to protect our rights every day. Thank you. Please be seated. All right, good evening, everyone. Also, thank you for your patience with this rescheduled meeting. We do apologize. There are times when a quorum cannot be maintained, and so we had to reschedule last week's meeting to tonight. So thank you very much for your patience, and to those who are coming and those who are watching through live stream. Just want to remind you of the emergency exits, which are located to the rear of the room and to the right. Also remind you that South Country is a no smoking school district, so there's no smoking anywhere on the premises. And then we'd like to begin with the consent agenda for items C1 through C6. Do I speak to that? Do you speak to that?
You do.
I do, okay. So for those matters within item 1 through 6, we need a motion and a second, please. Motion by Ms. Mail and second by Mr. Nix. And discussion. Any discussion on those items? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Seeing all hands raised. The consent agenda item C1 through 6 passes unanimously. And now we're up to communications and announcements, and we will begin with student commendations.
Yes, thank you. We are going to begin communications and announcements with all county student recognitions. We've invited our winter athletes here this evening who have earned all county status, and I would like to invite Mr. McIntyre up to make the introductions.
Thank you.
Well, you can move, we had that moved in exec session. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
Thank
couldn't
you.
say.
Okay, perfect.
First of all, thank you to Dr. Yanni, the Board of Education, for taking the time to recognize our athletes who have made special accolades in the winter season. Tonight's athletes are all county athletes. So I'm going to be a little long-winded, but try not to. But I have 2 athletes that are not here, but so hopefully they'll get here while but first, I'd like to call up 2 of our track athletes, and that's Kyler Pizzo and Emily Zeralman. Just move back a little, stand front and center so everybody can see you. There you go. You're on display for a little while. Kyler.
You have to stand still for a change.
Kyler placed 3rd in the Suffolk County Championships in the 55-meter hurdles this winter. Kyler ran a 7.68, which was 0.2 of a second off the winning time. Think about it, 0.2 of a second is about the distance of ahead. With his 3rd place finish, Kyler qualified for the New York State Championships, where he finished in the top 10 overall. Kyler also competed on the 4x200 meter relay team, which finished 4th in Suffolk County. Currently, Kyler's team is in 1st place in the spring leagues, and hopefully, if we have a good meet against North Babylon, we'll bring home another bag. So Kyler Pizzo. And Emily. Emily finished 2nd in the Suffolk County Championships in the 1,500 meter race walk. Emily walks faster than most of us will. Emily finished with a time of 7 minutes and 5 seconds. Her time and 2nd place finish qualified her for the New York State Championships, where she finished 4th earning all state honors. Emily then followed that performance with a 6th place finish in the Nationals, which is everybody in the United States. And that earned her the title of All-American. We'll bring everybody up, or?
No, we'll do the track.
Track? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So how many All-Americans do we have?
Emily is my first All-American as the athletic director for the South Country School. There are rumors that Emily may be moving. However,
How dare you?
I'm going to battle that.
Mommy's retiring.
Wait a minute, wait.
Can't hang on 4 years, Mom.
I can't take another 2 years. The senior's putting me over the edge.
I understand that.
Now, I'm going to move on to our winter wrestlers. I'd like to bring up Wyatt Gensel, John Glidey, and Keishon Parrish. Hopefully, he's on his way. But Wyatt finished the season with a 32-8 record. He won the Kujan tournament at William Floyd, the Pierce tournament at Walt Whitman, the Elite Four championship at 99 pounds, and placed 6th in Suffolk County. Wyatt's only the 2nd wrestler in school history to place in the Suffolk County tournament as a freshman. In doing so, he puts a lot of pressure on himself for the next 3 years. Josh Light. Josh is a junior who finished the season with a record of 38-3. Josh won the Rick Herman tournament and the Pierce tournament. He also won the League 4 championship and placed 3rd in the Suffolk County championship at 160 pounds. Josh Light. Now, I'll just, hey Sean, do you want me to, or do you want me to wait and see if it comes? All right, well, it's, okay. I look forward to the future. All 3 of our all-county athletes, we have a freshman, a sophomore, and a junior. So these guys really anchored we won the league championship in wrestling, and we hadn't done that in a long, long time. So they really anchored that success, and they're all back. So it's pretty exciting. Coach Marigiolio, along with Coach Cuffey, have really done just an outstanding job working with these guys. And I'm looking forward to, I think, we have a good shot at going upstate next year with Josh, if all pans out the way you want it to. Right, Josh?
No pressure.
No pressure.
I can't see why it's cheekbones.
No, I don't think he's a 99-pounder anymore.
Mr. Logan? Before you go, I don't know you well, Josh, but I do know Wyatt. And so I just want to make a few comments about Wyatt, if you don't mind. Is that okay?
He's nervous.
Not quite sure, but stay right here, because it's all about the team, right? And you grew up on a team, because Wyatt is a triplet. And many people know I had the distinct pleasure of serving as president of the Association of Municipal Employees for all the Suffolk County workers, and working with your grandmother, Jerry, who was a school crossing guard. So we have a picnic every year, and the first year that you and your brother and sister were born, Grandma came with her stroller, 1, 2, 3, and every year we took a picture that went in our union newsletter as you grew over the years. So you were used to being on a team from the very beginning, and you're making a great contribution to this team, and I wish you all the best of luck going into your wrestling career for next year. And congratulations again to both you boys.
And just so you know, Brian Gensel, the father of the triplets, he's also our middle school coach and helps out with the JV varsity team and does a ton of work. Brian and I almost every weekend run into each other at a gym somewhere.
Every day.
And his mom works for us too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
she,
Okay, you don't know
she only
that.
gave birth to the kids.
Okay.
We know she gets all the real credit. So, Keyshawn, I just want to talk quickly about Keyshawn Parrish. Keyshawn's a sophomore who earned All-County honors in football in the fall and finished his wrestling season with a 31-5 record. He won the Kujan tournament, the League 4 wrestling tournament, and placed fourth in the Suffolk County tournament at 170 pounds. Keyshawn's a special athlete. He played basketball as a 9th grader and came back to wrestling as a 10th grader. And again, if he continues his focus in wrestling, there's no doubt he will also be competing upstate, which again, we haven't done that since I've been here. And we have just a ton of athletes on the team that have the potential to do that and represent our school in the state championships. So that's pretty exciting. The next athlete I want to talk about is Jarrell White. And Jarrell is another really special athlete. Jarrell led his team to a 20-2 record for the second year in a row. League 3 championship, league championship for the second year in a row. It was League 3 and League 4. And finished in the Final Four in Suffolk County for the second year. Jarrell was the leading scorer in Suffolk County, averaging over 30 points per game. He was also the leading rebounder with over 15 points per game. For his accomplishments, he was named the League 3 Player of the Year. He was also named the Suffolk County Player of the Year. Jarrell was also named first team All Long Island for the third year in a row. And we're still waiting to find out what he will be named in the New York State team. He's already been, I think, 7th and 3rd team New York State, something like that. And we're hoping for a first team finish this year.
If he's not first team, it's robbery. That's a fact.
Yeah, and you know, Jarrell's a special child. He's come a real long way as an individual, as a student, and that's really a credit to the adults in his life, including a ton of our students. They're just his coaches, his teachers, Mrs. Jockman.
Mrs. Jackman.
Yeah, I mean, they work with him 24/7, and he's a true gentleman. I wish he was here to hear about it, and thank you for honoring him. So, Jarrell.
Good work.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Congratulations to all the student athletes. You make South Country proud, certainly myself as well. So, thank you. Okay, moving on with communications and announcements. This evening, the board will be adopting the proposed budget for the 2019-20 school year. Once adopted, administration, Ms. Felice, and other trustees will be visiting our school PTAs to present the proposed spending plan. Those dates will be May 7th at Brookhaven, 6:50, and Pritz, 7:30 on May 7th. May 9th, Bellport Middle School with a joint presentation for middle school and high school at 6 o'clock, and then Frank P. Long at 7 o'clock. And then May 15th, Kramer Street at 6 p.m. The budget will also be presented to the community at the May 13th South Country Community Leadership Network meeting at 10 a.m. Central Office. Next item, I am happy to report that for the 6th consecutive year, our school district has been named Best Community for Music Education by the National Association of Music Merchants. So congratulations to Mr. Utsi, our music teachers, and of course our students who have contributed to this honor. That's all I have, please.
Okay. All right, Mr. Delosa, would you like to begin?
I just wanted to let everyone know that on May 5th at the high school, we will be hosting the Julia Nofi Annual Lacrosse Tournament. This organization raises money for Julia's Wish Foundation, which is a organization that raises money for children with leukemia. I'm sure many of you know that Julia passed away a few years ago. And she was a passionate Bellport lacrosse player, and we do this tournament every year to honor her. So the girls lacrosse team will be reffing the tournament games, and will be helping out in the snack stand and everything, and it's just a really great tournament. So just wanted to let you know it's on May 5th at the high school. The juniors are getting excited for cotillion on May 10th at the country club, so I just wanted to let everyone know the date of that. And I also wanted to let everyone know that the boys track team will be hosting the Chrissy Games at the high school on May 11th. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Santo?
Well, thank you for that information, and I'll be praying for good weather on May 10th for Tillian.
Yes.
Because it's always nicer to take pictures when it's not raining. Right? All right. I actually want to thank my fellow board members for approving my attendance at the New York State School Boards Association Equity Summit at Teachers College. As fate would have it, it's on a Thursday, which is my mandatory day off, so I will be able to go into the city to participate in that conference, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think that it will provide some just additional information that will be helpful to our very diverse school district, and I've only heard wonderful things about conferences at the Teachers College, so I'm really looking forward to attending that. Other than that, it was great to see our student athletes, and I am really now looking forward to the beginning of what I sometimes call the silly season in a school district, but it is the beginning of the end-of-year activities. So there are a plethora of concerts coming up in all the school districts. I always try to make a point of attempting to attend those because my spring schedule is a little lighter, so I hope to get to many of the different performances in the different buildings. I, quite frankly, as a parent of a senior, I'm trying to breathe deeply and make certain that I think I'm prepared for all the senior activities. And I did also want to apologize today for my casual appearance. We weren't supposed to have a board meeting, and I am, quite frankly, on my week off. Was in the middle of cooking for 140 people who are about to attend my daughter's baby shower on Saturday. So please excuse my casual attire. And that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Miller? Mr. Pacini?
Yeah, just quickly, congratulations to all the athletes that they've all, oh, we have one left. Thank you for staying. And I hope you don't move, but if you do, we will certainly follow your career. All-American as a sophomore is remarkable. So congratulations on that success. And to Christine and Mrs. Gensel. Having all counties of freshmen is wonderful. Is probably not as difficult as raising triplets. But I, you know, as I have a child in high school now, as I come through this 7 years sitting here, I'm starting to see people that I've seen grow up and know a little bit better, and it's truly one of the real privileges of serving here on the school board. I've spoken about Jarrell White a lot up here when he's recognized, because he gets recognized every year. I wish he was here tonight. I'll be brief, and I don't want to favor one, but you know, there's a special place in my family's heart for Jarrell. We've gotten to know him very well over the last couple of years. And I've told him, as the season ended, I wasn't as sad about Bellport being eliminated from the playoffs as I was that was the last time we were going to get to see him play, at least in person for Bellport. But the other thing I told Jarrell, I've told him a couple times, is that he is much better. He's a much better person than he is a basketball player. And a lot of people don't know that about him until you get to know him, because he's such a quiet young man. And sometimes when you're a successful athlete, no matter what you do, that's what defines you, and it shouldn't define anybody, really. That's really not what it's about. He has been such a positive role model to my children. I have 8-year-old twins who have beat him every year they've played him in basketball at Coach Grassi's Midnight Madness. So up at the high school when season starts, and they remember that, and they talk about that, and they will always have a positive impression of him. You know, further, a couple years ago when I had the honor of speaking at graduation, I talked about how our upperclassmen are role models to our underclassmen. And that's something they don't always realize, that there's little kids looking up at you when they go to basketball games, when they go to concerts, you know, no matter what it is. So your conduct is important, and you're leaving an impression on someone else who will be walking the same halls as you a few years later. So congratulations to Jarrell and everybody, and I hope you have continued success, even though I really wish it was going to be here, but good luck to you. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Nix?
Nothing for me tonight.
Okay. And in the interest of time, because we have our budget presentation, I will hold my comments until the end. Okay, so we are on to public commentary. Do we have any cards? Okay, no cards. We'll wait to offer the guidance for the end of the meeting. And now we're on to our budget presentation for adoption.
Yes, first item for discussion is the presentation for budget adoption, and that will be done by Dr. Curtis. Dr. Curtis.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome. This is the first of the last segment, the budget adoption, which is required by the Board of Education, which leads into the property tax report card, which has to be submitted to the state. To just go over the budget highlights for 1920, maintains budget plan is program driven, maintains class size, no change in the arts or interscholastic athletics, continues our intervention programs, on course with South Haven, South Haven's opening, and we have included staffing for the new Early Childhood Center, South Haven pre-K transportation, and it's also the first year of a multi-year transportation contract that's approved in March. To go over staffing, there's a net increase of 3.6 overall, mostly in the non-instructional staff areas. Projected expenses, bottom line, last year was 132, 158. This year is 134,600, 063. The difference is 2,442,058, and the majority of that are both in the instructional, the curriculum, and the transportation codes, as we discussed, because of the first year of a 5-year contract. The revenues, obviously, they're supposed to match. The majority are property taxes and state aid, and we did get an unanticipated extra bump, which allowed us to maintain the initiatives. Recommended budget, as mentioned before, total revenues, 134,600, 063. Total expenses, 134,600, 063. The designated fund balance, we're reducing by just under $100,000 to bring it to an even $3,900,000. That's this year's monies that we would roll over into next year to reduce the expense. Budget to budget expense increases $2,442,000. And our tax levy increase is 3.36, which is also the tax levy limit amount that was submitted to the Controller's Office. No change in the reserve appropriations or the debt service transfers, and there's a slight increase in the pilot payments that we anticipate. The next step, adopt the recommended budget, which is on tonight's agenda of $134,600, 063. We have to do a mandatory budget hearing, which is set for May 8th, 2019. And then the annual budget vote election, which is set for May 21st, 2019, statewide. What's on the ballot to adopt the annual budget of the school district for 1920 for the amount mentioned before, and to authorize the requisite portion raised by taxation. Also on the ballot is the capital reserve portion to expend $2.3 million for the Kramer Street renovations of the windows and the doors. And finally, to liquidate the property loss and liability reserve that was established in 2009 and any accrued interest for any legal purpose that the board deems should it be approved. And finally, to look, the meetings that we had started on January 23rd, and includes tonight with the budget adoption. This is, of course, exclusive of the budget hearing and any PTA meetings, quote-unquote, roadshows. That's it.
Questions by the board? Yes, Mrs.
Will the
Sanders?
propositions be in that order?
Yes.
Right.
And what do you mean by that, on the ballot?
On ballot.
Okay. Any other questions? No other questions? All right, so we need an action?
I think that's a roll call vote.
Yes.
I got that.
Well, I have a sort of question in jest. Can we find a way to get rid of that $63 so we can have a nice even number? Wouldn't that be something, right?
Let me read the resolution and then call for the roll call vote. So resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby adopts the expenditure appropriation of $134,663 to operate the schools for the 2019-2020 fiscal year and present such appropriation to the district residents for approval on May 21st. And would the clerk please call the roll?
Lisa DeSanto.
I am emphatically voting yes. I am so pleased that this budget will include transportation for pre-K, which has been long missing
Thank you. Dr. Anthony Griffin, absent for vote. Carol Mallon,
Yes.
Chris Puccini,
Yes.
Jack Nix,
Yes.
Cheryl Felice.
Yes. Okay. Would you announce the roll?
Okay. Lisa DeSanto, yes. Sorry. Dr. Anthony Griffin is absent for vote. Carol Mallon is yes. Chris Puccini is yes. Jack Nix is yes. Cheryl Felice is yes.
And so that gives us five votes in favor. And so the resolution is passed. We have a budget to present to the residents that we are hopeful and confident that will be overwhelmingly approved. Thank you.
The next item for discussion is approval of our property tax report card. Through the budget, the Board of Education puts forth the tax levy limit. In addition, the board is ultimately responsible for the district's reserves, current status, and its use. Since the budget and any associated numbers are published by newspapers, SED, and other agencies, it should be established that the board adopted the budget, status reserves, and the levy limit, which are all components of the property tax report card. I feel it's a good practice to certify the property tax report card and therefore request the board's approval.
Okay. All right, so we need a motion and a second for property tax report card. Motion by Mr. Santo, second by Mr. Nix. Discussion. Any discussion? All right, so as recommended, you have a motion and a second before you to approve the 2019-20 property tax report card. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Put them down. Seeing all hands raised, the motion is approved unanimously.
Did you want to take the next three anonymous for discussion?
They're all second readings?
They're all
Yes, they are.
second readings, yeah.
Okay. So I'll speak to them? You speak
Sure.
to them.
I'll answer any questions.
So for the next items for discussion, we can, if with the board's permission, take in omnibus, so we'll take them all together. They are items for discussion, board policy, visitors to the schools, purchasing policy, and child abuse and maltreatment policy. All these policies are the second reading and went through the strategic planning. I will just speak to the visitors policy for the purposes of the minor change that was made there. In the interest of security, we do want to make sure that anyone entering the school district is supposed to be there. And even though Board of Trustee members, Board of Education members can enter a school at any time, we encourage them, the policy only encouraged them to make the principal's office aware of their presence. In today's day and age, with security being paramount, we are directing that in their official capacity, certainly they can enter those schools, but they must report to the main office to announce their presence to the senior administration on duty. We just feel that's courtesy and also protocol and protects everybody's safety. Yes.
Point of clarification, if that's just a board business?
In the official capacity.
Correct?
Yes, official capacity. Okay? And that was that. So we have those three policies, 3110, 5410, and 7530. We have a motion and a second to approve all as an omnibus. Motion by Ms. Mallon, seconded by Mr. Nix. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you very much. Seeing all hands raised, those three policies are now adopted.
Okay, moving on to curriculum, the administration recommends approval of curricular items reflected in schedules G1 and G2.
Okay, motion and a second to approve G1 and G2. Motion by Ms. Mallon, seconded by Mr. Nix. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor? Thank you. Please put your hands down. I was ahead of myself there. Seeing all hands raised, the motion is approved unanimously.
And moving on to personnel, administration recommends approval of personnel changes reflected in schedules H1 through 8.
And again, we need a consent agenda for Ms. Mallon, seconded by Mr. Nix. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of H1 through H9, please raise your hands. Thank you. Put your hands down. And seeing all hands raised, The motion is approved unanimously.
And moving on to business, administration recommends approval of business items reflected in schedules I-2 through I-31.
We'll get back to I-1 in a minute, but for items I-2 through I-31, you said?
Yes.
Yes, 31. Is there a motion and a second? Motion by Ms. Mailer, seconded by Mr. Nix. And any discussion? No discussion? Please raise your hands if you are in favor. Put your hands down. Seeing all hands raised, items items I2 through 31 are passed unanimously.
And administration recommends approval of business item reflected in schedule I-1.
Is there anyone here from the guards? We're going to approve your contract now.
Should we go back to that on the screen?
There we go.
Just the thought.
This is the first year that we entered into collective bargaining with the guards and responders for the district. This is the first contract that is going to be approved, and so that is the matter that is before the board right now for those members who are protecting our safety and the safety of our students in our schools. So, who would like to make the motion to ratify the first contract? Motion by Ms. Mailer. Who would like the second? Mr. Nix. Any discussion? All those in favor of ratifying the contract for the South Country Guard Association, please raise your hands. Thank you. Put them down. Seeing all hands raised. Congratulations to the South Country Security Guard Association. Your first contract is now ratified. And that brings us to public commentary for non-items. Do we have any cards? No cards? No one wishing to speak? Okay. That brings us to our closing remarks, and we will start again with Ms. Del Rosa.
I forgot to mention before that on May 1st at 4:30, we'll be having our girls lacrosse senior game. We're honoring 4 seniors. The ceremony is actually going to be before the game starts at 4 p.m., so if anyone would like to come support the girls lacrosse team, it'll be May 1st, next Wednesday.
Thank you.
That's all. 4 p.m. is the ceremony.
And what time does the lacrosse tournament on May 5th begin?
I don't know the actual
Okay.
start time, but I can find out for you.
Could administration of the board usually be aware?
Usually an evening event.
It honestly runs all day.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a tournament.
Yeah.
I'll get the start now.
All right.
Or we'll be in it, so.
Thank you.
It's
Mr. Santo?
Sorry.
Mr. Santo, you're up.
There we go. Yes, I just have a couple of questions. We just ratified the guard contract. Have a list of health and safety things that have been on my list of things to do. I want to thank the superintendent for providing the Health and Safety Committee report. I know there's a lot of things that go on. We had already discussed that report, and I'm still not clear as to what we're doing with the health and safety and logistical problems at the high school parking lot. We can start with the lighting issue that still exists. I mean, at this point the year, it may not be so apparent, but a good part of the school year, much of the parking lot is in the dark when people are entering and exiting, and the lighting is not adequate in the front lot or the back lot, and even the security guards are at risk because they stand out there in direct traffic and they're standing out there in the dark. So,
The lighting issue is going to be looked over the summer.
okay, it's going to be reviewed over the summer by,
I'm not sure. We're having somebody come in cooperation with the town is looking.
okay,
That's
you had
going to be-
indicated that there's been some delay on the part of the town at some point, or?
No.
Okay, because this has been, I mean, obviously my daughter's a senior, and I think I've been talking about this since she's in 9th grade, so,
Well, the front lot and side, we rectified. We did
Mhm.
improve that lighting.
okay.
The side lot is a problem, and it's a capital project probably. That's what we're looking at.
Well, I'm even talking about just the front where that hill, the berm is, and that's where the security guard stands, and there's no lighting there. So if you're dropping off your child in the morning, as I had sometimes the occasion to do, I thank the guard for standing there with the truck with the lights on, but they're standing there in the dark directing traffic. And then the kids are also crossing, and they, of course, are very good at trying to help the students cross safely, but it's dark there, and it's really an accident waiting to happen. And in the back lot, if the tennis court lights aren't on, everyone going in and out of the gym is walking in the dark. So that's that bigger issue, but even one light in the front would make a huge difference.
Okay, thank you.
Other safety issues, do we have any updates from New York State or Education Department as far as approval for the vestibule projects?
Yeah, that's almost approved. We believe the last revision went up. That was
Okay,
in the update.
all right. Well, I must have, today's, or I missed that in the last one?
No, I think it's been the same response. It's
Well,
up
I
to
think
you.
we've kind of been almost. I didn't know if we have any further avenues where if someone made a phone call, we could ask one of our legislators.
I think we're equally as frustrated.
I know,
with
we're
the-
all frustrated,
with
so
the delay of this
I'm
date.
thinking perhaps some legislative action. If we had a legislative committee, we might be able to ask one of our legislators to give the State Education Department a call, because this is a health and safety issue. We were at the forefront, I believe, of all school districts in putting in plans for safety vestibules, and we still don't have one, and it's an entire school year later at this point. So I think we need to do something. You know, the squeaky wheel sometimes gets the grease, and I think perhaps if we could contact maybe our New York State Senator and our Assembly person, and maybe they can help intercede on this matter. Okay, I think that will be it for now in the time that we have.
Thank you. Ms. Mailer? Mr. Cheney?
Real quickly, the 6 YouTube watchers are reporting that it's blurry. I don't think it's as blurry, I just think.
Maybe it's their connection.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just think this could make me look a little skinnier, but something must be happening with our camera.
15 pounds.
Our camera, 15, more like 50. But anyway, no, briefly, I neglected to mention earlier, a few weeks ago, there was a fundraiser at Painters for a former student, Courtney Pabst, who really had so a few weeks ago, there was a fundraiser for an alumni who was a senior in college named Courtney Pabst, who, excuse me, while having routine surgery on her knee, I think it was ACL, thank you, ACL surgery, developed an infection and went through a few months of hospital stays and some, almost lost her life, and was grateful to come out of it only losing a leg. But it was a significant impact to somebody, obviously, in their family. And there was a fundraiser attended at Painters, attended by over 500 community members. It was really a remarkable display of support for our community, for one of our former students. It was nice to see so many people, on top of it being a beautiful spring day. The turnout and the family, and I know Courtney's dad going back 25 years, so it was really nice to see everybody come out for them and support them and help them raise money for her care and all the challenges that lay ahead for her. But again, it was a wonderful community event attended by a lot of our staff, and not just our staff that are community members, but I don't know Courtney personally, but she had a major impact on many people in our community and in our district. And I thought it was worth mentioning what a nice outpouring of support it was for her and her family. So, thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cheney. Mr. Nix?
Just some thank yous. Thank you to Munistat Financial Advisory Service for their generous donation of $250 to support the high school general scholarship fund. And also thank you to Hampton Collegiate Baseball League for their generous donation of facility improvements to our varsity baseball field valued at $4,700.
Good.
That's all I have.
All right then. All right, just in conclusion, to remind the residents that the budget hearing will be May 8th. Is that meeting here? Yes, we advertised it
is.
for here. So it'll be here in this room
And it's 7 o'clock.
at 7 o'clock.
7
Thank
o'clock.
you for that clarification. So 7 o'clock budget hearing, everything that is going to be presented to the residents for the vote on the 21st will be discussed again at length on the 8th. So everyone who wants to know about the budget, to know what you're looking for, and to be able to speak about it within your community for support, please be here at the budget hearing on May 8th at 7 p.m., right here at Central. And that's all I have to conclude, other than we do wish Dr. Gianni well as he's waiting for the birth of his first grandchild today.
And to the hospital.
So head out and good luck to you and your family.
Thank you for keeping the meeting moving along quickly.
Absolutely.
And the Jets didn't take the Cardinals.
know, boy or girl?
It's
a boy.
Oh, it's a boy, I thought you said it was a girl.
No.
Gee, your grandson and my
When?
grandson and my.
Can I take a motion to adjourn? Watch by Mr. Nick, second by Ms. Miller. All those in favor, yes. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.